New for 96. With your hosts, Kevin McCauley and Chris Nguyen.
Nothing like drinking whiskey just afternoon. It is afternoon.
It's afternoon
after
now.
all.
It
Also-
wasn't when I poured this.
No. And recording a podcast in the daytime is like going to a bar.
Do you not have blinds in here?
Shall we record in the dark?
I think it's customary.
Yeah, I think so too. That would be for the best.
Yeah.
I think we've only ever recorded one other podcast during the day, and then we never published it. Because the daylight does something to us.
I thought we recorded 2 that day and we only published 1.
I think we published none of them.
Yeah, that sounds about
They were
right.
that incredible.
Yeah.
Also, that was when we had Blake on.
The episode that need not be mentioned.
Oh, it was just because of bad audio.
Yes. Yes, bad audio. Specifically from one voice.
Yes.
No, that was terrible. Like, we just assumed a conversation would flow naturally, and it
Yeah,
did
we didn't
not.
plan for that at all.
Well,
Like,
because we did record 2, so it was like one of them we had gotten through all our stuff, and then it was like, we'll have Blake on. He
Yeah.
will guide the conversation.
it was
and
like we just like, and with guest star Blake Wrong. Well, Blake, do you have any questions for us?
what do you want to talk about, Blake?
Yeah.
But mostly the discussion was just our ongoing connection issues and how
Yeah.
he was Skyping in, and it was video, which made it
was
super weird.
video, and he had to go, like,
Yeah.
also. So there was, like, a time crunch. So we'll have Blake on when there's a little bit less of a time crunch audio. And
Yeah. Well, that'll be for the episode 69 spectacular.
Yeah, spooktacular. It'll be for Halloween. Anyways. Hi, Kevin.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
I'm fine. Thanks.
Look at us feigning enthusiasm.
I know.
This
Well,
is called
it's midday.
performing.
It's midday. I'm still maybe slightly hungover on accident.
Well,
And-
it's like recording a test, or
Yeah.
taking a test. It's like if you drink when you study, then if you're drunk for the test, it'll stay fresh. It's
Yeah.
like if you're normally hungover when we record.
yeah.
Now, if you're hungover, it should be normal.
Yeah, definitely. No, definitely. Well, I'm drinking LaCroix, but I do have a whiskey glass here should this disappear mid-podcast, or otherwise known as my escape plan, so that I can escape from whatever horror we're about to bestow upon our listening public. Yeah, we just came from the PCA meetup, get together.
G2G.
Yeah, GTUG, where there were many GT3 RSs. There were like
Yes.
4 or 5 of them.
There was a lot.
Yeah, there were a lot. It's gray today. I thought there'd be actually fewer people.
I did too. I was
Yeah.
surprised when I pulled in and the parking lot was full.
Yeah, because I went to go get my car and it started to rain. I was like, oh, this will be cool. But I'm looking forward to it getting dirty so that I might try out this new wash method that Kevin really despises. It is
I'm a skeptic of washing without water or whatever.
It has water. It's called Rinseless, not waterless.
Mm.
What you do is you take a rag, you drag it across the dirt, and then you rub it on the paint until, like, the car is clean. It's a rinseless wash, so you don't rinse it. You just dry. So you wet the towel, you wipe a panel, and then you dry it immediately. And that's the whole thing. So, see, it's
Do you
simple.
have to like scrub on the dirty parts on the bottom and stuff?
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course. Like if the car is especially dirty, like you do have to rub.
And you haven't tried this on the Carrera yet.
No, I did it on the Celsior, which would be the worst car if it didn't work out, and it did.
Okay.
Like it's still black, which means that I washed it a week ago, and it's been sitting for a week, so now it is gray with dust.
Or green with pollen.
Yeah, yeah. So
Did you see on the way here there was like that Forerunner? And we joked about this, but there's all this oak pollen
yeah,
deposits. I don't know what it is. It's not pollen. It's the things that make the pollen. And it's like these little
semen.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like these little brown fuzz things. And we joked about it being almost like a snow risk. Like if people, they drive with snow on the roof of their car and they don't scrape it off, and then it's like a hazard to people behind you. That's how it was. This car was just driving out, and it was like a mountain of this stuff on the windshield, on the hood, on the roof.
It's so bad. And then when they blow it, it's even worse because you just create this big brown cloud.
Yeah, it breaks up instantly with any contact.
And no one cleans it. They just blow it into the street. And so I am so annoyed by like blowers. I mean, I know it's necessary, but
even like the one that's outside right now.
Yeah. You may hear some machine noises because there's someone in a backyard somewhere doing something. Anyways, so it's been a second since we've released an episode.
It's actually been like 2 weeks.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
It seems. Was it really just 2 weeks ago? No.
Like 2.5.
I'm glad we keep track of these things.
I think. Yeah. Anyway.
So we have gone on the Hill Country Rally, and Kevin also took a road trip shortly after, like a few days after.
Like immediately after.
Yeah, getting back. And why don't we start with the Hill Country Rally? Just a quick recap. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good.
My first rally of any sort. And this was any torsion bar 911. Or no, Porsche. To any torsion bar. So 356s all the way up to...
I didn't see any violators this year. Usually there's like some 993s that squeak in.
Oh, really?
And like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, 1 year there was like a Boxster 987 that like I think it's like a situation where someone their car broke and at last minute like, hey, can I make a substitution?
Yeah.
But it was and everyone stuck to it.
And I'll say like it was much more fun than I thought it was going to be with basically the same type of car, like 200 the same type of cars. And it just made there was just so much more of a connection to the other drivers as a result of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was 200 cars broken up into several groups and led by a driver each. And it was really well organized. Yeah. Really well put together, really well run. Like, there were a few accidents, but nothing catastrophic as far as like to the person goes. So, but obviously catastrophic for the car. But it wasn't, out of 200 cars, that's not.
It's like a rounding error.
Yeah.
I mean, you have 200 people driving kind of crazy in unknown roads, basically. That's always like my kind of apprehension is driving fast, not knowing what's around the corner. I mentally, like, especially like the really tight Twisted Sister stuff where you have the rock walls and you can't see around the corner. I mentally like really just can't push myself very fast.
You clench up a little bit.
I mean, I just can't go as fast as I know the car could go through the corner because it's like, well, I'm not going to drive faster than my visibility by too much.
Of course.
But it was cool. I did the track day the day before the rally started, so I went to Harris Hill, and I talked about it last time how I like that track, and it was I was looking forward to it. I was hoping to not break the car, and that was a cool event. It was like a half day basically at Harris Hill Road, only air cooled. I think it was like 30 or 40 cars, but people were spaced out enough that you'd be on the track with like 4 other cars, and you could do 10 laps and not see another car pass you or approach you or anything. Which was really cool. And also, like, if you were to do like a HPDE nowadays, you would probably have like a Nissan GTR passing you every 4 laps or something. Like, I mean, there's just the threshold of performance is so high that any beginner wanting to do HPDEs is going to encounter, most people that sign up for something like that have already a very fast car.
Aggressive people with ability beyond your own.
Not necessarily. I always think HPDE is a good crowd because it is so much work. Not so much work. You have to get a car inspection. You have to have a helmet. You have to have all this stuff. You have to get up early, to set aside the whole weekend. It is a good crowd of usually not a-holes because it is just like the work. It's not like street racing or something.
Or just severely mismatched.
But I mean, just the mismatched. Like it seems like with HPDEs, 10, 15 years ago, like any kind of performance-ish car would be fine, but it's like now there's so many performance cars on sale. The performance is so high that like someone with like, for example, like a Impreza 2.5 RS is going to be like way outmatched by any other car because anyone can roll in with a new GT3 or a Nissan GTR.
Yeah.
But so it was cool to have only air cooled. Is the point on the track, and a couple people even said, "Hey, can I bring my GT4 to this or whatever? I'm in the rally. Like, can I? And Sean, who organized it, was like, no, only torsion power, only air cooled, which was cool. I mean, I don't know of another event where there was only air cooled on a racetrack like this.
Yeah, that's so cool, and I mean, it just matches the experience, like you were saying. It's just like like the pace is going to be like familiar and similar, more predictable.
Yeah.
But that's very cool. So this second time you've had the car on the track.
This is the first time.
Oh, first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great way to get to know your car.
Yeah, totally. Like you really, the performance was higher than I expected. Also, there's more grip than I expected.
Yeah.
Like it kind of tended to understeer, which I kind of expected it to be.
Yeah.
Maybe a little unpredictable. The track's really bumpy.
Yeah.
And even though the car has soft suspension and high sidewall tires, it's still like you feel it get upset by just random bumps in the road and everything. It was bumpier than most roads.
Yeah.
Which I thought they had fixed. I would have thought they had fixed by now, but just makes it for
all
some
the more
excitement.
Challenging.
Yeah, exactly.
This was the first time, and I didn't go to the track event, but the rally itself was the first time, one, that I've taken this car any long distance, and two, or driven it like that with any sort of aggressive intention.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to do a track day one day. I'm glad that I got to do this first, just to kind of see how the car moves when moving quickly. And so the rally had several groups based on how quickly you wanted to move, and I decided to go for the mid group. And then the first day, which was 240 miles, something like that, it really was a mix of slightly aggressive driving with a balance of not aggressive driving. And the second day, which was another 200 plus miles, was much more aggressive. And I'm glad that our leader, who had two modes, like putter slow or like just hammering it.
Well, that was because of the guy behind him.
Yeah.
And also he wanted to like have like a rest period.
He was an interesting guy because he came off like really intense at first when he was trying to break up the group into level of comfort. And we got into the wrong line. We weren't supposed to go with him, and somehow I led us into the wrong line. So we ended up in his group, and just the way that he was describing it at the beginning, it's like, some of you might come back, some of you won't. And it's just like, he just scared everyone so much.
It was raining in the morning, and he was like, who's comfortable driving fast in the rain? And then it was like 3 people said yes, and like 40 people said no.
Yeah. It was just really, that was really funny. But yeah, he ended up like, for as much, I guess, aggressive talk as it was, like it turned out like to be a very positive thing anyway.
Yeah, and during the whole rain part, there was a guy in like a 911 or 912, like a long hood that was the first car behind him, and that guy was leaving a bunch of space and going slow, and so our leader thought that's how slow everyone wanted to go, and then I guess he talked to everyone and then talked to that guy, and then we picked up the pace from there, and then it dried up, and then after lunch we did an extra loop of some of the good roads, and it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
We got to do some good fast miles.
I really got to feel more of the limits of the car, as opposed to like really learning where the actual limits are. The limits just seem to be a lot further. I haven't hit the limits yet, and they're a lot further than I thought they were.
Yeah.
Which is a nice feeling because, again, like you were saying, just, you wouldn't think that this setup would instill much confidence, especially if you've driven faster cars or just more modern cars, I should say, that basically like all the electronics and just the fact that they are on low profile fat tires instill like this kind of false confidence in you, or the car is better than you are, basically. In this car, in theory, you should be better than the car is, but also
all you hear about is like the flaws of the 911 and it's a widowmaker and it'll turn ends on you and all this stuff. And it's really not true. You have to be doing something really stupid for that to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, you really have to be just going beyond.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much weight at the rear. Yeah. Maybe if like either of us had like, well over 300 horsepower and stuff, and you could really like snap the torque on, but my car is not torquey enough to really like upset the rear, and you've got that weight on the tires that just is because it's like a lever. It's so much grip at the back.
Your car's got 183.
It's like 190.
190, and I've got 215, I think, and but there were several points when we were going pretty fast through some curvy roads and some pretty quick turns. I was just ready for a little bit of understeer, and I felt nothing. Like it was just like heading in. It just seemed into the corner. It seemed like I was going a lot faster than I should have, and there like maybe a handful of times where I thought I was going maybe just a tad too fast for what I was doing, and the car survived. Like it instills a little bit more confidence than I was expecting.
Totally.
So that was a neat experience, just the whole trip in general. And then just all the people, very cool. Met just a bunch of people from, and not even just Texas. There was a huge group from Nuevo Leon, Mexico.
And people from Monterey.
Monterey.
Is that the state? Is one the state and one's the city?
Don't put me on. Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yes. There are people from Canada. There are people from all over the states.
East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah, who drove in, which is so impressive because some people did truck in their cars, but a lot of people just drove in.
I'm like, wait, you drove from California to here? These roads are okay, but they're not California roads.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's a good fun event. It's such a good event.
It's a good event. Yeah, and
there's people that came back. That were there last year and that came back because it is good. It's nice to have this kind of home base hotel in Kerrville where you just hang out and have a beer and BS with people. And once everyone's out driving, you have this commonality with everyone.
Yep.
The first day you might not know anyone, and the second day it's you're buds because you had this shared driving experience.
Yeah, and just the knowledge too.
Yeah, it's so much you can pick up.
A lot of people had to do on the spot repairs for this and that.
Yeah.
Say for instance, my brake lights did not work the entire trip, which I did not find out until someone was behind me and stopped and said, "Hey, you have no brake lights." And so there were times where I would turn on the tail lights. When I knew I was kind of about to brake hard, I would turn on the tail lights, which, because I had swapped in LEDs, and that was the whole point of that was just so that people can see my brake lights. Of course, when you have no brake lights, it doesn't matter. And so eventually I switched back to the incandescents, which I thought maybe the LEDs were the problem, and that just made it worse because when I did turn on the taillights, just so somebody would see that I was slowing down, you just couldn't see it at all. So
and I was behind you on the second day for all of it.
I forced you behind me because I knew that you knew what was going on.
Yeah, so that made it an interesting challenge to drive blind, but it was fine. It was fine. I was gonna say one more thing about the driving. The thing that I always struggle with psychologically with the car is in my mind, once you have the steering loaded up and you're cornering, it gets extremely heavy.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm always thinking this is the end of the grip.
Yeah.
It's easy to almost interpolate that as understeer or something and think, well, it's now I've reached the end of the limit. If I turn more, I'm gonna either understeer or oversteer or just and
it's
so
just gonna get loose real quick.
But it's just because there's no. It's easy to say, oh, it's because there's no power steering, and that's what it is. But it's it's kind of a barrier where once you really have the steering loaded on, I don't want to apply more steering.
Oh yeah,
even though you can, and that's how you drive it.
Yeah.
But again, we live in a city that corners are banned.
Yep.
It's the only zoning rule we have. There's no turns.
No turns.
So I get to turn my car once a year.
Yep.
At this event.
Yep.
So it's learning.
Mostly you just head straight until you round back around.
Yeah.
Yep. And I want to do so. I mean, obviously this was a mild driving experience as far as aggressive driving goes, and there's the PCA car control course.
Yeah.
And I really want to do that.
Yeah, let's sign up.
I'm really curious. Like, I want to know more about my car, like how it handles. And so at that event, it's watered or slick skid pads, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they encourage you to like lose control of the car, so you know exactly where the limits are.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to trying something like that.
Yeah, let's sign up for it.
Yeah. So that was the Hill Country Rally. And then when we came back, so this was almost 2 weeks ago that we went on the rally. And then shortly after we got back, you left like immediately.
Yeah, I got a call from friend of the show, non-listener, Daniel Sloan, former guest, who he called me while I was at the rally and said, hey, I might buy this. I am buying this car. We had talked about it a couple weeks ago, but he was certain. He's like, I'm flying to Denver. I'm buying this M3. Or it's a E46 3 Series wagon with an M3 swapped engine, the S54. So it's like 330 horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
And but it has all-wheel drive, and it's in a wagon with flares.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, bolt-on flares.
It's cool. And so he's like, I'm going to Denver. I'm going to pick up this car and drive to Portland. I know it's short notice, but do you want to come with me? Because I had said, because when we had talked about it a couple weeks ago, he was like wondering if he should buy the car. And I said, yeah, I'll drive it with you. And he said, it's not really a great drive. And I don't have the time. He didn't think he'd have time. But another trip got canceled. So he didn't even have to do any, you didn't even have to work remotely or anything for 4 days.
Yeah.
Or for the whole, 4 days plus the weekend. So we drove for 4 days from Denver to Portland, a nice 2,000-mile route in a unproven, unknown Frankenstein car.
Yeah.
Which was great. Everything worked fine. I mean, it didn't have cruise control and a couple things he wants to sort out.
Yeah. It's a pretty good start as far as the build goes. There might be a few small details here and there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Left to take care of. But...
Yeah, he's got some things he wants to do. I mean, he kind of wants to do more of a rally build, raise it. It has KW suspension, which is really good.
Yeah.
Coilovers, but it's allegedly it's maxed out at the height and it's very low.
Yeah.
And then it has this lip. So, the idea of I want to, drive fast off road.
Yeah.
You can't really do that because of
just clearance.
The clearance is an issue. So he's talking about, maybe not a really lifted car, but maybe putting on the stock XI 3 Series XI suspension and just having some travel and having that.
Yeah.
And which would be cool.
That'd be very cool.
It's a fun car, and it looks so right. The
does.
Wagon is, probably the best looking E46.
Yeah, Wagon. Yeah, I'd agree with that for sure. And it's it looks. It's not discreet because of the bolt-on fender.
I mean, well, it's Orient Blue.
Yeah,
which is basically black.
Yep.
It's funny because his Daniel also has an M3 convertible E46 that he's done many miles on. I think he talked about it on the show.
Yeah.
And I always think of that as a dark blue.
But
and then when we saw that, we got to Portland, we took out the convertible.
Yeah.
Drove around, and it's it just looks like the most vibrant, brilliant blue because it's not black.
Yeah, yeah. And BMW has a black metallic that is almost blue. In some lights, it's blue.
Oh yeah.
But yes, some of the photos that you took, it looked black and I thought it was blue, and then in other lights,
it's really dark blue.
Yeah, yeah. But it looks good.
It does.
Yeah. And
so it's hard to see the flares. It's hard to see that they're bolted on.
Yeah.
In some pictures and some angles and stuff. Other times it's pretty noticeable. I think Daniel was not happy with that. He's like, oh, I could change the entire interior and the bodywork, and it's well, now this is becoming something else. But maybe a different kind of flares. I don't know. I think he's open to changing it, not completely changing it, but just kind of this is a starting point.
And there's a company out in California that has flare kits. Is that right?
Yeah. We got into Portland. We stopped by his mechanic, and he mentioned that there's a guy that is making the kit, making fender panels for M3 Tourings.
Yeah,
basically. Yeah. So I don't know if it's a price or if it's a special order each time or what it is, but it'd be worth finding out. But I think it's going to be a lot of money because it's probably like $10,000.
Yeah.
It's got to be a lot of labor. You're cutting stuff up. There is no M3 sedan or touring to borrow pieces from.
Not at all.
So you basically have to use the M3 flares. It's like what people do with 930s and stuff.
Yeah.
You cut the flare off and you weld it in and blend it and paint it. And
it can be done right. I mean, all those...
But it can absolutely be done right. Yeah. But I mean, it's going to cost money.
So this car then becomes like an investment of love because at some point it doesn't make sense from like just how much money you could put into making it perfect, absolutely, or factory looking.
Yeah.
But it's such a cool idea.
It is, and I think the uniqueness of the all-wheel drive is really cool. There was a couple times where I'd be like, "Hey, pull over here," so I could take pictures, and we'd go into like dirt or mud or snow, and you don't have to worry about getting stuck.
No,
which is cool.
I'm really curious how like that helps driving dynamics when driving quickly, if at all.
It doesn't hurt them. I'm usually pretty skeptical of all-wheel drive cars, but on the road, it doesn't detract from the experience.
I actually don't know on the E46 how the all-wheel drive system works. Is it mostly in rear until it detects slip?
I think so, but it's like an open diff, so it's not like advanced four-wheel drive or anything. But yeah, it is. It's pretty cool.
That is cool, and that's not his first engine swapped BMW either.
Right, yeah.
He had an E30.
He had an E30 with an S52, which is the E36 motor.
Back in high school?
Maybe college?
Okay.
Or right after? I'm not sure exactly.
So, in short, Daniel is a BMW enthusiast, and can be depicted by his driveway.
It's a lot of cars.
He bought a house in Portland, Oregon with a 4-car garage. Like, it was designed that way by the previous owner. And there's basically like a car barn, which is so cool. Like, I'm so jealous.
It's crazy. I mean, you could probably fit 5 cars in it.
Yeah.
So he's got it.
And he basically has 5 cars in it.
Well, his former roommate has a Mini in it right now. That's like being stripped and prepped for paint and stuff. So.
And that takes up no space at all.
Right.
Yeah. But Daniel also has an E38 740i Sport.
Yeah.
A Land Rover LR3, which is basically a BMW. And
that has the Jag V8.
Yeah, okay.
Because I know there was some Range Rovers that had the BMW motor.
Yeah, but it's still like, it has some sort of BMW underpinning still, no? Maybe?
It potentially could.
Okay.
BMW owned Land Rover and Rover like right before that period.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably when it was being developed, and then they sold it to.
Okay.
I think around the millennium. I think like
sold it to Ford.
I guess.
And then
Tata bought it in like 2009.
Yeah. I just remember like I always just look for the BMW switchgear to indicate like when the transitions happen, but I don't remember it in the LR3. But
I didn't recognize anything when I was in it. But I don't know.
Yeah. But that car's a cool like setup too.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's fun. We rode in it. We took it on some trails like outside of Portland to go on a hike.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's a very nice interior. It's his newest car.
And Daniel, much like me, is dedicated to the illogical endeavor of keeping the factory air suspension alive. And I struggle with this in the Celsior, and so he's had some challenges with air suspension, but it's proven to be useful.
Yeah.
So
we only had one catastrophic breakdown from it.
Yeah, yeah. But you showed me a picture of his like the driveway with now it's just kidney beans as far as the eye can see.
Yes, that brings me to the Wagon's biggest flaw, the black kidney grills.
Oh no, yeah, it did come with that.
It's weird too that the hood is from the LCI.
Okay.
So it's got like a pointy like elf ears kidney grill that I don't like.
Yeah.
But and that fits over the normal pre-LCI headlights, so it's kind of unusual, but
I guess
it can all be tweaked.
That kind of makes sense because the only difference in the headlights are when it went with the Dame Edna's on the corners.
That's what the hood's from.
Okay, yeah. But the I guess the inner shape of the headlights.
I mean, I think it's a little bit different.
Maybe. And Daniel, much like you told me that he did basically what I probably would have done too, is I would have carried an extra set of chrome kidneys.
Yeah, he did. He would have, but they're expensive each. I think he's going to buy some knockoffs or something. Like they're like $80 each new. Like this is the reason. This is the reason people get garbage eBay taillights and get garbage black kidney grills. When you search online, like you only find the fake crappy stuff. Like it's hard, you pay more and it's harder to find like the real thing.
Yeah.
So if anyone has a taillight replacement, it's like, oh, I can get this one, two of them for the price of half of a normal taillight.
Yeah. Didn't you do that with your amber taillight covers? Didn't you buy the aftermarket ones?
They are they're OEM-ish.
Yeah.
They're not.
To be fair, I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, because
they're like URO brand, but they're basically like replica of the factory thing. Like the Bosch ones are just extremely expensive.
And I've bought the URO ones before, like when I had to replace the taillight in the Cayman.
Yeah.
And it was LED, like from the factory. And I bought the URO one, and it looks exactly the same. And it costs half the price of the actual Porsche brand.
But I mean, I'm talking like eBay stuff where it's like,
but like
retrofitting something else. Like aftermarket is fine if it's like it's facsimile of the. It can be fine if it's a facsimile of the real thing. Where
it's still somehow like they're making Altezza-esque like replacements for other brands. Like there are some very bad ones. Basically, you know what the trend really is more is it's post dated. It's like when they try to like it's one model and they post date like a new design style from a newer model into that, and why would anyone do that? Because it's so ill-fitting. Like it never looks.
It's like the E30 never had angel eyes, but what if it could?
What if it did? You know what?
Buy it now.
I searched how early a kit you could get, or for how early a car you could get angel eye headlights for, and
2002.
Not a 2002, but an E21. So a 320i, you can get gigantic angel eyes, basically.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So on our trip, we picked up in Denver. We drove to Moab, Utah.
Yep. How many times have you been there now?
To Utah?
To Moab.
This is the first time I've been to Moab.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought
we didn't really do the things. Like Arches National Park is right there. What else is right there? There's another one. Another very nice national park. We kind of were trying to move at a pace, but we drove through Capitol Reef. We stopped at Bryce Canyon.
Yep.
Which was amazing. Like it's more delicate than Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Like there's all these formations, like almost like fingers reaching up from the canyon, and it's all these cool formations, and there's so much to look at. Plus, it was covered in like a little bit of snow, which made it incredible. We drove through an amazing road in Utah, crossed into Nevada, in Baker. And I actually have been there before.
Yeah.
And that's where the Border Inn is. And by the time we got there, we stayed at a really cool motel.
Yeah.
That was like run by young people, and they had two like weird hairless cats.
I like that you had to clarify that because it's always run by like old creepy people.
I know. That's the thing is like, this was called the Stargazer Inn. I'll free plug that. It was very cool if you're ever there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like because it's still cold, it's still kind of out of season. So they have a restaurant there, but it's not open every day of the week. So it wasn't open when we were there. There's a restaurant across the street that wasn't open when we were there. So we had to go to the Border Inn, which is a motel that I have stayed at before. That's like 2 miles away.
Yeah.
And it's on the border. And I think I told you it's the weirdest thing. It has a Wikipedia entry, but it's like
it's split between
Utah and Nevada. So there's a restaurant, there's a bar, there's a casino, there's a motel, and a gas station, and it's all straddling the border. So like the rooms are in Utah and the casino is in Nevada.
Yeah.
And it's like across 2 time zones. And it's kind of neat. But we did have to get a not so good dinner there, although they had very cheap pitchers of beer.
Oh, amazing!
But the Stargazer Inn was cool. But I told Daniel, I was like, I want a list of like motels that are run by young people and like cool and nice and maybe not the newest, most remodeled thing, but like just
just an interesting experience.
Yeah, like they've cared for it in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
We stayed at a place where that was not the case.
Yeah.
I guess it was the following night, but we drove through Nevada the next day, and then through part of Idaho, into Eastern Oregon.
You said that you'd always wanted to go to Idaho.
I wanted to go to
asked you, like,
Idaho.
was it everything you hoped it wouldn't be and more?
Yeah. A lot of trailer-based structures.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it's a state I've never been to.
Yeah.
So I'm always, I was kind of hoping to
Maybe
do some states on this list.
Boise would be nice. But
We were in the outskirts of Boise.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We were in the state for a few hours.
I don't know a lot about
It's fine.
Idaho.
It's fine. No, at the bottom, it's very wide. The top, it's very skinny. So if you were driving from, I think, Oregon to Montana, you could slip through in like an hour, or 30 minutes, or 40 minutes, or something. But we were at the bottom. We went through like a whole corner of it.
Yeah.
Just near Boise. And we got to Eastern Oregon, which Eastern Oregon is super rural and super farming and agricultural. And, we went to a weird coffee shop where everyone was staring at us, and then they were talking to us and ribbing us for 45 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, it was so strange. Like, these people were all regulars.
And they were just like, look at these city slickers?
They asked us, what we were doing, where we were going from, and blah, blah, blah. And then they were kind of joking at each other, like, oh, Bob here, he's never left this place. Like, all these people have lived there for 25 years or more.
Yeah.
Some people lived there for 55
But that
years.
kind of, small town experience.
It was so strange. Like, they all knew each other. They all came here every day to the coffee shop.
Whoa.
It was like Wings, but in the country.
Yeah.
The diner.
But yeah, so I've been to Eastern Washington, or not Washington, Oregon a few times, and it is very, very different. Yeah,
because Central is not Eastern. Bend is in the middle.
Okay, I don't remember where it was as a kid.
I mean, Eastern, there's nothing really there.
Yeah.
It's way out there. I've been to Bend and I've been to some parts, and I've never been this far east. This was on the border.
It's so interesting how vastly different it is from Portland.
Yeah, they were willing to tell us that, how they don't like how Portland controls the politics of the state.
Oh
the
my
cities
God.
dictate what the rest of the state has to live by.
Yep.
Just like Texas, except not.
Yep. Nope. Which, side note, was it with you how where we were going through a list of Texas cities and how Houston is the biggest city in Texas, but no one ever thinks that it's, if you're from outside of the state, I think you would probably say Dallas is.
Yeah, they had a TV show.
Yeah, they had a TV show after all. But it is in fact very small in comparison to Houston and very other cities. I was surprised at how where it ranked on the list, and I forget now where Dallas ranked on the list. Of course,
Houston's 8th. I mean, it was smaller than San Antonio.
Yeah, smaller than San Antonio. So we were talking about this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. But yeah, so just its image is bigger than it actually is.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because we have a huge chip on our shoulder here in Houston. We're like that. We're like Shelbyville versus Springfield.
Yeah.
I guess we're Springfield.
We?
We're the slightly crustier.
But Dallas has the lemon tree.
Yeah. Shake harder, boy. Yeah. But so you guys ended up back in Portland?
Yeah, we ended up back in Portland on one of the days, and then spent the weekend in Portland.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It was really nice weather when I was there, cool and sunny and not raining, and it was great. We drove around the M3. We went hiking. We went to an alpaca farm.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you do anything with them? Did you pet them?
Yeah, you pet them.
Really?
They're like cats. They're indifferent to humans.
Huh. All right.
They're pretty cool.
They think they're better than us.
Yeah, they are better than us.
Yeah.
Come on.
Wow. I don't know that I've ever seen an alpaca in real life.
They're amazing. I'll show you all the pictures.
Was this in the city? Because I feel like someone in Portland would have
it was outside. It was where we were hiking, but I don't remember where that was.
It'd be very Portlandia
Silver City? Is that a suburb?
I'm unfamiliar if it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we were out in an area with a lot of come and take it flags.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that was Texas's thing.
No, don't tread on me.
Don't tread on me, sorry.
Don't tread on me. I mix up
horrible
things.
Slogans.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mix up the I'm white and afraid of everything slogans.
But that's such a cool trip. And
it was great. I am so glad that I did that. It kind of put me behind on some work and stuff, but it was very worthwhile just to do that. So there'll be a thing about it on Road and Track about the car.
Yeah.
And I shot some videos, so I might have a video, like a little thing, like I interviewed Daniel about it. I wanted to do something else.
Yeah.
But I pretty much shot like with my phone.
Yeah.
And so we'll see if it's worth putting up there.
Yeah. So you've always threatened to fly out with someone to go pick up a car.
True.
Yeah. And it's true, you will. So
yeah,
at some point when I am able to drive for more than 500 miles without like just going crazy, let's do that. Let's go pick up like a car from somewhere.
Yeah.
That is relatively far away. So
yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
That would be good. In
the constantly rotating cars of interest in my mind, there is that gold W126, the Euro one in San Francisco. We could fly out there and drive it somewhere. Okay. Let's do it. Maybe. Yeah.
After like the route, we had to be really cautious with the route, even though this car was on Blizzaks.
Yeah.
Really good snow tires. Like there had been a big blizzard snowstorm. I don't know what the defining thing is.
We don't get snow here.
I don't know weather.
Yeah.
But there had been a lot of snow in Colorado like the week before. So Daniel was really worried about getting caught in like snow, and it's like, we don't want to get delayed by like 2 days because of weather. So we could have gone like through Wyoming and Idaho, like north from Colorado. It would have been shorter route, but you run into like those risks, and it's not really enjoyable. It would just been so cold in Wyoming, even this time of year.
Yeah.
So we went the more southern route, which was cool.
It's beautiful. Like when you are in Oregon, just how beautiful the landscape is there.
There's so many different kinds of landscapes.
Yeah.
So that's what I was saying is after we picked the route, he showed me pictures of when he had his E39 and he went to this like desert, like dry lake in southern Oregon, and he had been like sliding and making. And he showed me pictures from it. I was like, that's so cool. It's like, we should have gone there.
Yeah.
So we'll have to go back.
Because you've done that. You've driven with him in his M3 all the way back to Houston?
We went from Houston to Portland.
Houston to Portland, yeah.
In 2016. And then we went later in 2016, we did Portland to Monterey.
Yeah.
On the coast.
Yeah.
Like the whole way.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool.
Yep.
And then we did like a road trip in Portland in a Tesla Model S.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of drives together.
Yeah.
It's always a good time.
Yeah.
We kind of are on the same page with like get up early, like get a really good breakfast and get going and
because I'm a late waker. Like when we travel, it is a different experience. You get up annoyingly early. Like
I'm really hungover.
Yeah. And you're like your eyes shoot open at like 6:30 and I can hear them open and I'm like, God damn it, go back to sleep, please. But so that's cool. And so does he have any immediate plans to do anything with the car, or is it just drive it as is for a little while?
I think he's gonna drive it as is for a little while and think about it. I don't know. He sent me a picture of some wheels he wants to get. I don't know if there's for that. The wheels on the car were really cool. Like they were from like this like 3 Series touring car in Europe, in the UK. That was like the wheel option on that. It's funny I mentioned this, but it's like every trip we've done with his M3.
Yeah.
It's like there's no trunk, virtually no trunk, and it's filled with a spare tire.
Yeah.
He is like an aftermarket spare because it has none.
Yeah.
So there's not more room for anything. So everything's like stuffed in the back seat. And I was like, oh, finally this trip will have some space. But
the car came with tires.
The car came with an extra set of wheels and tires, which are actually the ones in the listing photos.
Yeah.
So big wheels, big tires, the seats folded down, takes up all the space.
Bit of room, yeah.
So like my duffel bag was like crushed in the very back. My camera bag sitting on a wheel.
Yeah.
It was tight.
Yeah.
So we always managed to fill up all the space. But I can imagine it would be a very nice
Daniel
full car.
Should take one of his cars and cut off like the trunk and make a matching trailer. Which like is available on the Prowler.
Yeah.
And that way you can travel with all the trunk space you want and need.
That would be cool. It was fun. He took me to the airport on Monday.
Yeah.
And I was like, when you drop me off, this will be the fastest the car's ever been because we're actually at sea level and there'll be no passenger and there'll be nothing in the back of the car.
Finally, he can.
Finally, dead weight gone.
Yeah, open it up.
Well, and a lot of the drive was at elevation.
Yeah.
We were at elevation for most of it through the Rockies and everything, starting at 5,000 feet.
Oh yeah. Also, how does the car drive?
Oh, it's great. I drove it a lot.
Yeah.
It's fast. It's very fast, compared to what I'm used to now.
Yeah.
And the steering's good. I like the steering wheel. It's like a 3 Series normal steering wheel and not the M wheel, which I kind of like better. But it's the E46 has such good road holding. Yeah. And you can go. It's great for driving fast on roads because you could be on really twisty roads going fast. And if you do like lift or like, I have to brake in the middle of this corner, it's not the end of the world. Like it might be on some cars.
The 3 Series is probably one of the most predictable driving experiences I've ever had. And yeah, the E46 is probably just kind of the best of.
It's such a good size. Yeah, it's such a good size, and just the road feel is there. It's good.
Yeah, that is very cool. I want to drive it. Take it for a spin.
Yeah,
next time I go.
But I mean, driving out in the middle of nowhere and being able to go fast and get on it and just not seeing cars for a very long time is exciting, and it's just such a cool way to experience a car. Like, what a way to break it in. Yeah. When he picked up his M3, I think he picked it up in just outside of Vegas. Yeah. Back in like 2013, and then drove it back to Portland. I think he drove to Oklahoma and then Portland. Like, wow. That's how he started. Yeah. And
he is like he can do road trips like nothing.
Yeah, yeah. There was a time where it's like we're telling Daniel tall tales. Yeah. But when he had to work in Denver for 2 weeks, and he was dating someone that was there, and it was like maybe it was 2 weeks. So it was like he could have flown there or he could drive there. So I think he drove there in 2 days. Yeah. And then worked for 2 weeks and then drove back.
Oh man, like, I wither into a skeleton if I have to drive like longer than 10 miles.
But Daniel said that having that M3 is what made him like doing that. Before that, he was kind of indifferent, and then it was like that car made him want to drive those distances. Yeah, just always be driving.
I actually prefer like a car to be slightly uncomfortable if I have to drive a long distance. Something where I have to do something, as opposed to a car where I'm just cruising. Yeah, like because we've driven in the Celsior up to Austin, and that's fine. But it's just kind of a car that you sit back and you're just kind of like you let your mind wander. But when we drove to the Raleigh, this is the first time I've ever driven long distance in a truly old car.
Yeah. So how much distance is it to Kerrville? Go through Austin, like 250 or something?
Something like that. It's like 4 hours. Yeah. And I have to say, like, that was actually a really fun drive. And it was fun because it was my first time taking that car.
Yeah. No, but going through Austin's a way better, way better than going through I-10 and San Antonio the whole way.
Yeah. And it's just like, I like that I probably wouldn't like this on like an 8-hour road trip, but like up there, I kind of like that it was a little bit vibraty and loud, and, I had to keep the windows down because it had just turned sort of warm that day, and I was testing out my AC, my probably original to 86 AC, and it was just blowing warm. So if I kept the windows up, it was just, me, I like heat. Yeah. And it was too hot for me, even with the AC on. So I drove for all the way up to Kerrville with the windows down. Wow. Yeah. And it was actually really nice. I like driving with the windows down.
You didn't stop in Austin?
No, not the first time. Because I am so bad at time. Like when I have to go somewhere, I meant to leave at like 10 a.m. that morning to head up to Kerrville, and I'm gonna stop by in Austin for lunch or something, and I ended up leaving at like almost 1 or 2. Okay. Yeah, so I was very behind schedule. Yeah. At that point,
that's when I was like leaving the track day. It was like 2 o'clock or something. Yeah. I drove to San Marcos the day before, and that's where the track was. We did the track day, and then had lunch there and left.
Yeah. And maybe one last bit here before we end the podcast. On the Rallye, we met a father and son who were in I think in SE Targa or Carrera Targa. I don't remember. But the dad was
it was a 70s. Oh no! Carrera Targa.
Yeah. It was you're right. It was a mid-year Targa. So the dad was just telling us like, oh yeah, we were once in the 90s invited onto America's Funniest Home Videos, like because they had submitted a video of their cats fighting.
Yeah,
and it like was interesting enough to like have the show fly them out, and they were in the audience, and they didn't win, but they were on TV, and I think he said they got like $1,000 for the thing.
They got to stay in Hollywood for a couple days.
Yeah, but that's just
Bob Saget was a jerk.
Yeah, he said Bob Saget was a jerk. But that's such a random. I never think about like people. I haven't watched that show like since I was a kid, but that those are real people, like just out and about. So
I was gonna say one thing is driving, like the seats. I'm sure in your Carrera, the seats in the SC are really comfortable.
Yeah.
Like it's really cushy. Like you don't get
very
back
cushy.
pain after sitting there.
Yeah.
Like it seems like the more you're in the seat, the more kind of like
Grooved to you.
embedded in the seat you are. And
yeah.
I have sat in that seat all day.
Yeah.
I mean, we pretty much did doing the hill country roads.
Yeah.
And it's it's not bad. You don't like get sore or ache or anything after a while.
No.
I don't.
It is like a very cushy. It's a for better or worse thing, because sometimes I prefer like a firm seat, but like this is like a light armchair, almost, for better or worse.
It's like Martin Crane's chair.
Yeah. And I don't know if I need bolsters a little bit because I am on the smaller side, and so I get kind of flung around in the seat a little. And I don't recall, your car has slightly flatter seats, I think, right?
Possibly, yeah.
The
I
SC
like
designs
bolsters.
are a little.
I like bolsters.
Oh yeah.
But I don't have much bolstering.
Yeah, and you've sat in the the sports seats for the SC before.
I think so.
Once, we test drove. We test drove like that red one.
Yeah.
And they're pretty nice. And the ones that are available in the Carrera are like aggressively bolstered. Like they're huge arms. I don't know if I would like that necessarily, because that goes up to my shoulder. So I just end up like hunched over and tacoed into the seat. Okay. I think we have a podcast. We didn't do a new 4 year this time round.
Why not? Because we didn't prepare?
We didn't prepare. So we will have a new 4, select insert year here.
69.
Yep.
Okay.
Next episode. So thank you for listening.
Now they have something to look forward to.
Yeah, seriously. That's how you hook them. All right. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.